So hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I am Giovanna. I'm in charge of the webinar for LASIG, Learn Autonomy Special Interest Group. I will pass the word to Christian.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And I can see that there are still people coming in, so the room's filling up. We've got almost 60 participants now. So I just want to briefly welcome you on behalf of the IATEFL Learn Autonomy Special Interest Group and welcome you to this wonderful webinar. So, and I'll pass on to Gamze, who's going to welcome you on behalf of the local conference organizers in Turkey.
Thank you so much, Christian. Hello, everyone. I'm Gamze Güven Yalçın. As a Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University Learning Advisory Program unit, we know that we are all in the constant state of becoming, and we feel so privileged and grateful to Christian, Joanna, Anna, on behalf of the IATEFL LASIG team, to provide us with this opportunity to share our journey of becoming here with you all guys here. And we're also grateful to our beloved mentor, Satoko Kato, to be our inspiration in the world of advising. So let's enjoy the ride together.
Yeah, me again, Giovanna. I have the pleasure to briefly introduce Satoko Kato. She is a senior education coordinator and a lecturer at a Research Institute for Learn Autonomy Education at Kanda University of International Studies in Japan, in Chiba. Maybe you already know her. She is also a lecturer at the Graduate School of Language Science at Kanda, and she teaches learner autonomy and teacher autonomy in the IATEFL program. She has a PhD degree in education from Hiroshima University in Japan too, and a master's degree in TESOL from Teachers College, Columbia University in New York. And she is really the expert in advising. She has conducted more than 3,000 advising sessions as a learning advisor in the past 14 years. And her aim is to promote learner autonomy. And she is also in charge with Joe Maynard and Higher Reinders of the advisor education program. And she will talk about this. And one of the books I can recommend that she wrote together with Joe Maynard is Reflective Dialogue, Advising in Language Learning. And so over to you, Satoko. We are really pleased to have you here again.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Giovanna. I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you, Giovanna and Christian and Anya for organizing this wonderful webinar. And thank you, Gamze, Stephanie, and Hatice to be here today together to do the panel discussion. It is my pleasure to be here. And we had actually more than 100 people registered for this webinar. Everybody's not appearing here, but we had more than 150, I guess. And I was so thrilled to know the number because 15 years ago, we never expected this, like 150 people having interest in just to attend the talk of advising. So I would like to congratulate all the people who have put their souls in expanding this field. We have come this far. In April 24th, we are going to have conference just focusing on autonomy and advising, hosted by AYBU, so please enjoy the conference. And this webinar is going to be the basics of advising so you can enjoy more about the upcoming conference. And I'm going to talk about the basics, but some of you might be already experts in this field. So in that case, I would really, really like you to just smile and nod while I go through the basics. So if you see people on the screen who are smiling and nodding, that means they are experts. So let me begin. Oops. So today, Gamze, would you like to talk about the poster?
Actually, this was the beginning welcoming poster that
Okay, sorry.
remind you of the conference. You already said very, very beautiful remarks. Thank you for your remarks. We're hoping to be together in the conference, which is the first first international advising conference in Turkey. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So please attend the conference. Today, I'm going to address the 4 questions here today. The first one is, why does advising in language learning play a vital role in language learning? And what is advising in learning? How different, similar is it from teaching? And how does it work? How can we do advising, and how do we educate others as how do we educate others and ourselves as advisors? Okay. So, and after my presentation, there will be a panel discussion with Gamze, Stephanie, and Hatice. So please enjoy the webinar till the end. Okay, so first of all, why advising in language learning playing a vital role in language learning? So there is a trend in second language acquisition, as you know, putting more attention to individual differences and learner psychology. So educators become more aware that one-size-fits-all type of classroom teaching does not fully cater for learners' needs. So that's why promoting learner autonomy through dialogue and advising become one of the approaches in SLA. But for me, promoting autonomy, advising is not only that. So this is one of the typical expression that I hear from my students. So as Giovanna said, I have conducted more than 3,000 one-on-one advising session, and many students who came to me said something like this: I wish I had met an advisor earlier in my life. So this became a strong motive in believing that advising in language learning is playing a vital role in learners' language learning process. So we talked about advising in language learning, but what is it? So Joe Minor said, advising in language learning is the intentional use of one-to-one dialogue to promote deeper thoughts with the aim of promoting language learner autonomy. So advising is a dialogue intentionally structured in order to promote learner autonomy. And there are many definitions out there about learner autonomy. It is an ability to take charge of one's own learning. It is a capacity to take control over one's learning. It is a readiness, capacity, willingness, and there are many great definitions out there. And nowadays, we see many self-access centers worldwide, which promotes learner autonomy. So self-access centers are person-centered social learning environments that actively promotes language learner autonomy both within and outside the space. And this is our self-access learning center at Kanda University of International Studies. It looks really big, right? But we started as a really tiny, small room in 2001. It was just one classroom, but it rapidly grew. And in 2017, we established this huge building, which looks like a baseball stadium. We have 10 full-time learning advisors, and we conduct about 200 sessions per month. And inside the building, it's like this. So we have so many spaces to promote speaking practice or writing practice or presentation. And we have conversation lounge and places that students can get together and communicate and interact. However, as we all know that 2020 and 2021 was a bit different. So we had to put all the services online. So at KUIS in Japan, most of the facilities were basically closed, but partially opened for a limited number of students. And we had to shift all our services such as advising modules, help desk, speaking practice, conversation lounge, workshops, learning community to online. However, it was really surprising for us, but the number of advising appointments increased. It was 1,532 in 2019, whereas it was 1,744 in 2020. So students are quite good at using online advising service. In AYBU in Turkey, the facilities were closed. There was no in-person interaction. They shifted their services such as group advising, one-to-one advising, and written advising, speaking practice into online, and started to provide the workshop for instructors who are interested in advising. So I believe each of you had different environments. Maybe in the chat box, you can share what kind of changes you have experienced. I can't really look at the chat now, but I think it's a great opportunity for you to share your situation to others so that you can have more input and sharing opportunity in this webinar. So please use the chat box while I'm talking. So these were the things we experienced in 2020 and 2021 was a bit different. And so we used a lot of online advising approaches. And this is one of the approaches we used at Quiz in 2020 and 21. And it's written on the paper. So please take a look if you're interested. So we use Zoom as a platform, and we use some of the Zoom affordances, such as whiteboard, screen annotation, and chat and screen sharing. So there was a tendency to be more directive, explicitly suggesting more learner resources, activities, and strategies to learners because it was really easy to share on the screen through Zoom. However, conducting sessions online in English was challenging for some students. So some sessions were conducted bilingually compared to face-to-face in-person advising. And well-being for learner and advisor were more prioritized because considering the tough situation that we are all facing. So this was something we were facing and the approaches we used in advising, online advising sessions. Again, if you have any tips that we would like to share with others, please use the chat box and share that with others, okay? So either online or in person, we focus on reflective dialogue in advising. And advising in language learning is the intentional use of one-to-one dialogue to promote deeper thoughts with the aim of promoting language learner autonomy. That was what Joe Miner said. So at the center of advising, there's reflective dialogue going on. And the role of that learning advisor is to activate learners' reflective process in their learning through this dialogue. So you might be wondering what the difference between advising and teaching then, because as a teacher, you might be also paying attention to these things. So let's take a look. So these
Satoko, we cannot hear you. Satoko, are you there? Sorry, we try to fix it.
Okay, it looks like Satoko is not. Oh, she's there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Now we hear you.
Do
Okay.
you see the screen?
Yeah.
Good.
Everything is fine.
Good. Let me just, okay. So these are the typical learning issues that our learners have. For example, I don't have time to study. I don't enjoy learning English. I feel alone when studying. I've tried so many things, but nothing works. So these sounds familiar to you, right? Maybe your student might be saying the same thing. So our students are saying these things and coming to advisor to get some support. So let's assume your role is as a teacher and talking to these students. For example, your students coming to you saying like, I'm working on this textbook or grammar book. I don't know if what I'm doing is right. Where should I start? How much do I need to study? So as a teacher, you might be saying that, oh, this textbook does not seem right for your level because you know your student quite well. So you thought this textbook is too difficult for the student. And you might say, why don't you try this one? Because you know the materials really well. So starting from the verb tense chapter is easy for you, probably. So why don't you try to finish one chapter a week? So the student might say, okay, I will. So the conversation sounds just perfectly, really productive, because you have used your expertise as a teacher and just made a great suggestion so that student can take action. Okay, so what if your role as a learning advisor, how would you react to the student? So the same problem. I'm working on this grammar book. I don't know if what I'm doing is right. So as an advisor, you might say, oh, I see, you don't know if you're doing is right. So if you can see, the advisor is not focusing on the grammar book. The advisor is focusing on students' feeling and emotion. And I don't know if what I'm doing is right contains students' fear behind the utterances. So the advisor gets that and she just repeats it without making any suggestions yet. And repeating is quite a powerful approach in advising, sometimes more powerful than asking questions, because just by repeating, that will open up students' thought and reflection. For example, student might respond like, yeah, I have only finished one chapter so far. I was planning to do more. Just by repeating, they talk more. And then you can ask the follow-up question. Can you tell me more? You haven't made any suggestions yet. You just keep asking questions so that students can explore themselves. Even when my motivation is high, I cannot work on it. Why do you think you cannot study as you want, even if your motivation is high? So the student might go like, and the reflection starts. So this is how the dialogue and advising goes. We try to help students face themselves and go deeper. And that is how we help promoting learner autonomy through the dialogue. And as you see, we talked about, we're not going to focus on the facts, but the feelings and emotion first, because learning language is a really dramatic process, and they have lots of struggles, fears, and most of them feel isolated while studying. So we thought that our advising is not just helping learners become autonomous language learners by acquiring skills, but it's rather helping learners going beyond improving their language proficiency. And because we challenge learners' existing values, we try to help them raise their awareness, and we help them put their awareness into action so that make a fundamental change in their language learning. And we call this approach transformational advising. So again, we had some tendency for learners learning issues in 2020 and 21. We had more students feeling isolated because they don't have opportunities to interact with people in person. And some students, they were excited to do the online advising learning at the beginning, but toward the end, they got really demotivated and tired with online learning. Maybe you had similar students. And they had frustration coming from lack of physical activity or feeling of dread or generalized fear. But some students showed really positive aspects. They were really good at adapting themselves to the online environment, and they could really utilize the spaces and times wisely. So we had these two different types of students in 2020 and 21. If you could share how was your student like in 2020 and 21, you can just use the chat box and share that with the audiences. So how does advising work and how can we do advising? So let's move on to the next topic. I just talked about advisor's role is to activate learners' reflective process. And in advising, we go through this learning trajectory, which is divided into 4 phases: getting started, going deeper, becoming aware, and transformation. And for example, students in getting started are people who are not highly aware. They come to advisor and ask for solutions. For example, tell me what to do. Which textbook should I use? How much should I do? And these questions come out from students in getting started level. And going deeper, they start to doubt themselves, ask questions to themselves. Am I doing it right? And becoming aware level student, they become to be more aware, but they're not ready to implement their awareness into action. And for transformation level student, they're quite aware, they can control their learning. So depending on learners at each level, how advisors interact with learners are different. So this is a advisor training that we do for advisor, and we introduce advisor how they can introduce learner autonomy and interact with people at different stages. Basically, we go through 12 advising strategy as a basic training. And these are repeating, restating, summarizing, empathizing, complementing, meta-view linking, metaphor, intuiting, challenging, powerful questions, experience sharing, and accountability. So these are the basic 12 strategies that we provide in our basic advisor training program. However, it is not only about skills. We put more importance in formulating reflective questions, because reflective dialogue starts with having a reflective question, and reflective questions require a learner to think before giving a response. For example, questions like, how do you feel about your learning so far? This could provoke students' reflection more, because they have to stop and think before providing responses. Or how do you think you could do better this time? Or if you're learning more like climbing up a mountain, where do you think you are at now, by using a metaphor question? So these questions are the questions that students might not encounter daily in their conversation. So that's why advisors try to ask these questions, so that students can broaden their perspectives. And in our advising training, we try to help advisors how to formulate these questions for learners at each stage. And for example, this is a way we formulate question. So we try not to ask powerful question at the beginning, because we don't want to put students in the position to defend themselves. So if you see the triangle, the pyramid, the top of the pyramid is more powerful, such as why question, how question, and what question. These questions are quite powerful. So we try not to start our conversation from the top of the pyramid asking why question. So let's see an example. So starting from a softer question, such as yes, no question. Were you able to carry out your plan? This is easy to answer yes, no question. And student might say, no, I was busy. I couldn't concentrate on my study well. So this could be really typical excuse that student would say to you. So as an advisor, you provide another question. When was the most difficult time for you to study? So when question is a bit more powerful than the yes, no question. And student would say, when studying late night at home. So she has to recall her memory by being asked this when question. So let's get more powerful by saying, what makes this difficult for you? So now student not only has to recall her memory, but she has to analyze her learning. So usually I can't concentrate on it when I sit at my desk. So the question get more powerful. How do you feel about it? Okay, you can sense that how question is powerful than the previous questions. Every time I study at my desk, I feel like I'm going to fail the exam again. So maybe by asking these powerful questions, students can gradually reflect on herself deeper and get to the real issue that she has not maybe realized yet. So as an advisor, then you can ask more powerful questions like, why do you think you couldn't carry out your plan? And the student might go, and real reflection starts from here. So this is how we try to formulate the question. If you put the order vice versa and start by, why do you think you couldn't carry out plan? How do you feel about it? You just put your student on the spot, and it feels like they have been interrogated. So we try to scaffold the conversation as much as possible. We do this because we want to have students experience the state of being listened to. Nobody wants to share their weaknesses to strangers, right? So we understand that. So that's why we try to establish rapport and trust at the beginning of the conversation. So the first 10 minutes is quite crucial, because we have to pass the chemistry test. So we try to connect with students as much as possible, because we want to have us trusted by them, so that they can have safer space to expose themselves to us. So I just briefly talked about what advising is and how it is similar and different from teaching. And now let's focus on how do we educate others or ourselves as advisor to promote autonomy within ourselves. So recently we're trying to introduce the approach of reflective dialogue we use in advising into teacher and advisor education. So if you look at the studies, there are lots of studies out there focusing on mentoring in teacher education. which say that mentoring helps teachers gain confidence, develop self-reflection, and promotes mutual learning. And we also introduce mentoring in advisor education as well, because it's a really valuable professional development approach, as mentoring and advising is based on one-on-one reflective dialogue. So we try to promote that. And there are many, many types of mentoring out there, as you know. So within the mentoring approaches, we focus on relational mentoring for mutual learning. And relational mentoring focuses on relationship. So at the center of the mentoring is the relationship between mentor and mentee, same as advising that we're promoting. So we try to reveal ourselves as much as possible in order to make genuine relationship. And the outcome of this relational mentoring are mutual learning, growth, and development. And it will increase relational competence, inspiration, self-confidence, empowered action, and so on and on. And I've been trying this with my colleagues, and it's just really, really working well. Usually, when you play the role of mentor, you just feel like you have to provide something to mentees, and you give, and you might be burned out. But in this relational mentoring, you get something from your mentors also, because the aim is mutual learning. So I really like the concept of relational mentoring and mutual learning and mentoring. So that's why we have this program at our university at CUIS. This is a one-year mentoring for advisors, which consists of 7 sessions. And in the first session, we do a life story interview. So we reveal ourselves to each other, which is a really powerful first session that influenced the other following sessions. And we keep journals after the session. In the fourth session, we exchange our journals. We call that collaborative reflection, so that we kind of like reveal each other what was going on within ourselves. And in 6th session, we switch roles. So we call that reverse mentoring. So where mentors play the role of mentees and mentees play the role of mentors. So this is quite a tough situation for mentors, because they have to become mentors for their mentors. So, but this is a great process for mentor education. And we again do this collaborative reflection. So this is one of the ways maybe you can introduce at your own institution or university, providing people with places, spaces to reflect on themselves by helping each other. And this is quite working well at our university. So we do this because we want to put more importance in well-being, because we also believe that the most valuable and costly part of an education system are the people who teach. And maintaining their well-being and their contribution to student education should be a primary object of educational leaders. We totally agree with this statement. So that's why we put importance of well-being when we provide professional development for educators and advisors. So we also provide the online advisor education program for those who are interested in advising. And it is a 1.5 year online course. And when you finished everything, you get the certificate. And Gamze, Stephanie, and Hatice they have completed this course. And also they have completed advisor educators program. And they are our certified advisor educators. So if you're interested, please visit our website. The new academic year will start in May, and the registration has just started. So please check our website. And we have wonderful teaching group, and Gamze, Stephanie, and Hatice are also part of our team. So thank you for that. So today I just would like to try an activity with you, because we're here. Oh, 96 people are here now. So we just want to try this activity, everyone together, to promote your self-reflection and internal reflective dialogue. So the topic is, how can we encourage ourselves to see things from different perspectives? Sometimes we think a lot and we get stuck, right? And in that case, we want to change our perspectives, but it is sometimes difficult to do it. So in that case, maybe this activity might help you change your perspective. It is a really simple way by using a tool called viewpoint switching sheet. If you can click the link that maybe Giovanna or somebody is pasting on the chat box. If you click that link, you can get to this website where I posted viewpoint switching sheet.
I just put a link in the chat.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So this is a really, really simple activity. If you don't have access to the PDF, you can just jot down it on the paper. So we do this with students when we want to help students broaden their perspectives. And it is also helpful for us to broaden our perspective. So let's try, okay? So please bear a piece of paper or access the link. So task 1, I would like you to pick a topic. For example, think about something that you want to change or something which has been an issue to you. Anything is okay, the real issue that you have. For example, I want to get a PhD, but I have no time, no money, and no energy for it now. Or I want to conduct online classes by attracting more students. Or something like, I want to make a good balance between my professional life and personal life. Anything is okay, your real issue. Come up with one topic and put that at the center here. Okay, you can write that down, jot that down, type that in. Anything is okay. I will give you 2 minutes to do this, okay? So please pick a topic which has been an issue to you or something you want to change and write that in at the middle of the worksheet. If you like to share your topic, please type that in. Oops. Is it okay if I move on? Have you chosen a topic? Do you need more time? Okay, I'm assuming that you have picked a topic. Okay, next task. I would like you to choose 4 people who have the most influence on you. Okay, these 4 people can be someone you know, or famous or historical figures. Could be like a famous movie star or athlete, or somebody who has already passed, or even your future self is okay. Try to think about 4 people who are really, really influential to you. Okay, I'll give you, again, 2 minutes to think about that. If you like to share your influential 4 people in the chat box, please do. It could be your high school teacher. It could be a famous movie star, athlete. Anybody is okay. So please try to use your imagination when picking up these 4 people because they are very important in this activity. It could be your best friend, teacher, advisor, colleague, grandfather, grandmother. A teacher at your primary school. Yeah, I can see teachers are quite influential to your lives, right? Yeah, historical figure, I mean, yeah. So you don't have to know this person. You just have to have influence from this person. Okay, have you chosen the 4 people? Yeah, just by choosing these people, you kind of like have this long-term reflection, right? You have to like look over your life and just think about who are your important people. Just by picking up these people, I think you become aware of many things. Winnie the Pooh, school teacher. Yeah, okay. So please pick up 4 people and let's move on to the next activity. So now we have chosen those 4 people, and I would like you to put those people's name at each section of the paper. There are 4 sections on the page, a worksheet. So please put one person's name in each area. And now try to look at your situation, which means your issue that you have, from each person's position. Encourage yourself to dive into each of the chosen 4 people's minds and see the situation with their eyes. Try to use your imagination. If you were that person, how would you see the situation? What message do you think you will get from each person? Please try to think. Use your imagination and dive into their mind and try to get that message. And please try to write that down on the piece of paper or on the worksheet or type that in. I'll give you 4 minutes to do it. It could be short, but try to focus on that. So when you get these messages, try to think what this message mean to you. And try to feel it. Try to focus on your feelings. How do you feel about these messages? Oh, I see some positive comments, messages in the chat box. Never give up. Try again. Keep going. Yeah. Life is short. Yeah, try to put your mind in these people's minds and try to see the situation from their point of view and get the messages to you yourself. Stop procrastinating and just write. Yeah. Don't give up. Go ahead. Yeah. Love for what you're doing. That's beautiful. Seize the day. One step at a time. That's a good advice. There are always other solutions. Yeah. I believe that you can. So maybe you're getting quite powerful messages from these people. Oh, I can see many people typing in. So how do you feel about getting these messages? By doing these activities? You feel better? Motivated? Hopeful? Optimistic, yeah. Because it's so easy for us to be really strict to ourselves, right? We always try to cap ourselves, limit ourselves, but by seeing ourselves from different perspectives, maybe we get different messages to ourselves. Yeah. And I really hope that this really little tiny activity will help you feel how it feels like broadening your perspectives and seeing yourself from different angles. Right. Yeah, I see some positive comments in the mail, chat box. Yeah, I can keep reading this until the end, but I think we need to move on. Thank you so much for your active participation. I believe you can do this on your own, or it would be more powerful if you conduct a dialogue based on this activity. So it's better to do it maybe with someone and sharing your perspective with someone, so that the awareness raising you just had will become more powerful by the reflective dialogue. And you can also do it with your student, of course. Right. Okay. Oops. So as we have just experienced, we have a lot of benefit from just introducing reflective dialogue. It can be internal reflective dialogue or reflective dialogue with others. And if you do it with others, it will promote mutual growth, because you can share your career value or life value with others, but just, expanding your viewpoint. And also you can share something you have just written, or sometimes you can switch roles. You can become listener or storytellers. By switching roles, you gain more by talking with your colleagues or your students, with others. And again, we really like to promote your well-being. Some of you have just shared really positive comment by doing this activity, which might promoted your well-being a little bit. And we really value doing that, promoting well-being through the professional development. So I hope you can keep doing it with your colleagues or with yourself, with your family, with your friends, and just promote everybody's well-being through the dialogue. Okay, so that was my part, talking about the basics of advising and how we can conduct reflective dialogue and how we can utilize reflective dialogue for our own professional development. So shall we move on to the panel discussion, Joanna?
I think we have a couple of minutes for questions. If you have some questions to Satoko, you can write it in the chat, and then we can go over to the panel discussion.
Sure.
Any questions? Christian.
There is one question. What recommendations do you have for institutions which have no all systems or procedures in place?
That's how we started in our case. We're now really huge and gigantic, but we had nothing. But there was one person who put their heart souls into expanding this field. So I believe if there's one person who's really dedicated to expanding this, and who's really believing in it, it will expand gradually. So you don't have to invest money and space. You just need to have somebody to do it with you, and it can start really small. And in our case, we just prepared one small classroom, and we put some materials and put one advisor there and invited people to join. So am I answering the question right?
I think you are, and there is another question, and this is also something that Anya and I talked about last night. Interestingly enough, what do you do if you are working with depressed, emotionally disturbed people? And closely related to this, did you work on this dialogue with young people with some disorders like Asperger's? And I think especially the depressed, emotionally disturbed student is something that Anya and I discussed very heatedly over dinner. So, yeah.
Mostly the advisee I'm interacting with are university students, and not the kind of like the student that you were just talking about. So I don't know how this would be apply to those people. However, like when I talk with people who are really demotivated, I try not to encourage themselves or empower themselves from the beginning. We try to accept people first. I'll try not to judge anything, try not to make any suggestion, but just listen to them and accept and see where the conversation will flow from there. So we try not to push them, but try to accept. Accepting is the first step of advising. So that is what we try to do.
May I just jump in because it reminds me, I had this last winter, several advising sessions with somebody, with a student who is affected by Tourette syndrome. And of course, can I just say something really briefly? I felt on the one side, I just accepted the students as he was, and I think this is crucial. And on the other side, since he was asking really particular questions about how could he learn, I tried to get some information about language learning in Tourette syndrome. But I think the basic thing is to listen to the person, to accept the person as the person is, and then also to know what are the boundaries of my competence as an advisor. I'm not a neuroscience specialist or so. Sorry for jumping in, but
thank you. That was a really important remark, I think. Yeah.
Okay, and there's one comment. This is also about the boundaries between counseling and advising. So I think that you mentioned quite a number of boundaries in your talk. Okay, shall we move on then?
Sure.
There were a lot of thank yous in the chat. So
thank you.
I suggest, and someone said very inspirational as always, Satoko, and I couldn't agree more. So
thank you.
Thank you very much once again, and I pass over to the third organizer of this, or one of the third LASIG organizer of this event, Anja Burkhardt, who is one of our event organizers. And someone asked in the chat, how do we start? And I think the panel, the panelists that we have now and their talks will kind of answer this question. So I'll hand over to
sorry, there is I think one question by Sangha Ibrahim.
Yes.
What is the question?
How are you, everyone?
Hi.
Can I speak, please?
Sure.
Oh, thanks for this opportunity. Actually, I would like to congratulate you for presenting this kind of amazing webinar. It's so interesting and informative for me. Actually, I don't know for others. I'm a university instructor at the University of Saladin in Iraq, Kurdistan. Since last year, you know that we have faced lots of difficulties in teaching, actually. But every time I tell my learners that you are ability to study more than before. You are online right now for studying. It means that you have enough ability. In this case, you have to tell everyone in the world that no kinds of pandemic is prevent you from learning and teaching. So believe self-motivation is important. For example, a decade ago in Iraq, Kurdistan, it was so difficult to have Wi-Fi at home. Every time we went to some private sectors or centers in order to use Wi-Fi just for 1 hour in order to download some information for our study. I tell my learners that at home in your smartphones and laptops, you have Wi-Fi, many types of Wi-Fi. Please study. So another facility for learners in order to be more familiar than before with online learning and studying is having a kind of friendship between instructors and learners. In this case, I think learners want to be more active than before in terms of studying and learning online. And I think we need more webinars from you, dear doctor. So thank you so much. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to tell what I wanted to say. And thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I also believe that online is expanding opportunities for learning, not only for students, but for us as well. So thank you for attending, coming, and your comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anya.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are now coming to the second part of our webinar, the panel discussion. And I would like to introduce to you our three panelists, Gamze, Güven, Yalçın, Hatice Karaslan, and Stephanie Lee Howard. All three presenters are EFL instructors, learning advisors, and advisor educators at Ankara Yildirim University School of Foreign Languages, Turkey. They completed their advisory training with Joe Meinert and Satoko Kato at Kanda University of International Studies in Japan. In their 5-minute presentations, the panelists will outline the advisory program, and they will share with us their very personal experience of their transition and metamorphosis from teacher to advisor and advisor educator. After the 3 short presentations, you will have the chance to ask questions. We will have about 10 to 15 minutes for questions, but please keep the questions until the end of the 3 short presentations and then post them in the chat. Gamze, Hatice, and Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anya, for your really kind introduction.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, as a IBU LAP team, we have a motto. According to us, your story matters. And in the slide that you will see right in the middle, it all started, our story started with a dream. And this dream started to come true with our first steps in quiz in Kanda University of International Studies with that life-altering training of learning advisor education training. And our beloved, which was conducted by our beloved mentors, Satoko Kato and Joe Meinert some years ago. And we were not only inspired by our beloved mentors and the LAs there and how they were strongly building relationships with learners, but also the physical environment of Salk, that was the birthplace of our transformation. And we just wanted to share our reflections, which were published in the very first issue of Relay Journal at that time, which shows, I guess, how impactful the training have been on us. And you can find the academic contributions so far, and you can reach those reflections as well in the chat box, I guess, with the link. You can click on the link and find in the chat box. And in the other slide, you will see once we completed our training, 4-module training, this is just going to be a little bit helpful for the ones who would like to start, how to start ALL in their institution. We started our advising services in 3 main domains. Our main thing was advising, one-to-one advising plus group advising sessions. And we had some inspired and volunteer instructors and students whom we delivered the training course as advisory education program for the instructors, the volunteer ones, and peer advising program for the students who were inspired by the notion of advising when seeing us. And in the other one, in the other slide, you can see that the notion of advising helped us start to grow and become a really big team, as you can see. So this was the LAP team at IBU School of Foreign Languages proudly presents the team. And we have been able to shape our story to live with more meaning and purpose. And this meaning and purpose can be seen in the metaphors of our advisees, as you can see. This shows some examples of when we asked them what advising means to them, they came up with some lovely metaphors which can easily reflect how deeply impacted they have been in this advising, with the advising service. And they came up with some metaphors of puzzle and mirror, that they were more aware of themselves. Even the rope attached to a kite, which wants to fly away one day. And once it flies, the program is over. Let me pass the mic to my lovely partner, Stephanie.
Thank you. All right, so what you see here, these are just some visual examples that we posted from the different things that we've been doing. Some of these actually predate the pandemic, and some of these are coming from when we transitioned to online. But we have posters, we have slide workshops. We try to do a lot of different activities to get people involved and to try to really promote a community of advising. Next slide. And what you see here, this is from a webinar that we just recently held. And this workshop marked our transition to offering training to academics and instructors from outside our institution. We're research partners with QS, and we're going to be getting into more of these in the near future. Next slide. And here is we were all affected, Hatice, Gamze, and I. This experience of the teaching assistantship with QS really meant so much to us. I cannot even begin to express how precious this was. In about 14 months, we participated in 7 different courses, and it was phenomenal because we got to experience the other side of the coin. And for us, we felt like we were coming full circle. I mean, we started out as the students, and now we were actually the TAs. And to be able to work much more closely with Joe, Satoko, and Hayo was just, it really was a life-changing experience for us. And it took our understanding of advising and the process of learning and teaching advising from a 2D perspective to a 3D perspective. And we're really grateful. Next slide. All right. And as far as my part, my transition from being a teacher to advisor really started when I walked through the door of the Salk Center in Japan. And I honestly felt like I already knew what advising was because I had done advising with Tariq in the ILC at our school. And in the first 4 hours at Kanda in the training workshops, I had to undo everything that I thought I knew. You cannot fill a cup that is already full, and my advisor cup was completely dumped out in the first 4 hours. But I needed that because it helped me to internalize that advising is as different from teaching as advice giving is from true advising. And for me, the path to autonomy begins with learning about myself. I needed to learn deeply about who I was, how I operated best, how I faced challenges, and I needed to learn to see emotions and feelings as an asset rather than a liability. And I think all of these experiences, when you become an advisor, really help to put you in the place that you need to be so that you can support your own advisees in their transformative journey. For me, peer advising and creating advising tools really facilitated my own transformation. Both arose as problem solving attempts in the very beginning. The very first tool I created actually started as an attempt to overcome a language barrier. And I wanted to stay true to the 3 principles of advising, which are it's not about you, no judgments, and be open-minded. So I needed him to draw how he saw himself and his situation rather than my understanding of what he thought he saw. I needed to see it from his own eyes. And he was able to discover his real problem, and I was able to discover my passion for creating tools and for using them as a bridge and as another language. Also, training the PAs helped me to understand what I was really learning. It was a way to immediately give back, and it also kept my developing knowledge student-centered and grounded, which was important to me. As an advisor, you can kind of see in the middle of the screen here, there's like a sponge, and I know you're probably asking, what's that? Well, I came to actually see myself as a sponge, meaning that I saw all of my advisees as my teachers, and my job was to absorb what I could from them. I've learned immeasurable things from every single advisee I've ever had, and I try to absorb all of that and pass it on whenever I can. Um, Next slide, please. And the journey from advisor to educator, this basically just is amplified everything that I already talked about. It transformed how I saw myself. I actually see myself as a budding academic and researcher now, as well as an advisor and an advisor educator. And I remembered when we were all training, we noticed that the more confused and distressed we got, the happier Joe and Satoko seemed, and we all thought that was kind of odd. But then I started training PAs and in-house advisors and was blessed with a QSTA-ship, and I became the one who was smiling when people expressed key uncertainties. And the reason is because you know that that person is starting to get it. They're starting to let go of preconceived notions of advising and themselves, and they're really starting to take in what it actually is. You know that person's going to go on. And finally, I envision the process of advising as if you can imagine yourself and the advisee in a dark room. You both know there's a light switch on the wall, but only the advisee can actually flip the switch and turn the lights on. Your job as the advisor is to simply support them on their journey. And when they are able to turn the lights on and they metaphorically illuminate their world, it's magical. And as an advisor educator, when the learner who's the advisor trainee, when they reach the light switch, you know that person is going to go on and is going to help many others illuminate their world too. And that's perhaps even more magical, but that's my journey. And now I'm going to turn it over to Gamze, and we're going to hear about her journey.
Oh my goodness, after that amazing reflection, actually my journey wouldn't sound nothing at all.
Yours is amazing.
No. Thank you very much for your sincere reflection, dear. So when it comes to my story, actually from teacher to advisor, I can say that since our training at CUIS, advising has been an immensely meaningful journey to me. It sometimes means reaching out and taking someone's hand is the beginning of this journey. At other times, allowing others to take my hand. And it has always felt like finding me, myself in others as I am part of all that I have met so far. So this is going to be a spoiler from a poster presentation in the webinar, in the conference on the 24th of April, that you will see some cards in the middle, writing, connecting online, and some reflections next to it. Connections to all the people and things around the world define who we are, if you ask me. From the connection to our own soul, to the connection to the others. And as I truly believe these invisible threads are the strongest ones between two people. No other words could better define how I name the essence of life, actually, than the one that my lovely mentors call me with. This is connecting. And receiving this hallmark from our mentors, I learned how to think with learners, but not about them. Just because dialogue is something that we conduct on people, not on people, but with them. And since the training, I've been becoming a thinker and learning facilitator in my mind, and still becoming, as I told you in the beginning. And as you can see, the book Reflective Dialogue, having read the life-altering book of our mentors, Reflective Dialogue, walking in the streets of Tokyo, it was just like walking in the Museum of Reflections, believe me. We were taking photos of all reflections. And in this photo, you can see a traditional building just opposed to the modern one. I think advising is like this traditional building in our modern lives, if it is modern, I mean. It feels so humble, so sincere, so accepting, like a personal sanctuary, I can say, where you can escape from everything when you need. And this is what we usually see from the eyes of our advisees, actually. And when it comes to the distance education times, in the times of distance education, you can see some LAP club screenshots experiencing that we LAs, we learning advisors, have been able to reach out learners in their houses and learn from them, learn with them, and grow with them. We've been able to create our own community, thank goodness, by developing a variety of tools and by conceptualizing those tools in the framework of our LAP club model. And we were able to deliver advising through the lens of self-determination theory and subjective well-being. And when it comes to my story from being an advisor to educator, in the other slide, we can say seeing this evolving field of advising and becoming more aware of our roles as not only as advisor practitioners, but also as advisor researchers, we started doing our best to spread the word and share our experiences and in and out of the institution, both nationally and internationally. And the most precious one is the opportunity that we were given as a teaching assistant in Joe and Satoko's advisory education program. And given the opportunity to grow with others as TAs in this training some years later, we were able to externalize. We had been internalized so far. And it was like getting out there and fluttering by as those butterflies you can see, and to see the real butterfly effect. And in graduation symposium a couple of weeks ago, meeting the other North Stars of autonomy, or autonomy geeks in Satoko's term, it felt like walking in another wonderland of advising, I must confess. And the ones who know Cappadocia in Turkey, this is one of the 7 wonders of the world, they will understand what I'm talking about. When we were honored as a certified advisor educators, it felt like each one of us, each one of the graduates, got on their hot air balloon and landed off in our own skies. So that was actually, that could be the thing that I can talk about, my story about being an advisor to becoming an educator. How about you, my dear Hatice?
Yeah, can we look at the next slide, please? Okay, so it is moving really nicely, slowly. Okay. Yeah, in my case, I think my story started in 2013 when I started working at Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University. I knew things wouldn't be the same anymore, and I was entering a new land, as you see this picture in the middle, because I had some friends from university, Müge Akgedik and Mümin Şen. One was the school director and the other one is the assistant director. They are both still in charge, and I'm very proud to be working with them, and they are visionary leaders, and they have been always a great support in realizing our dreams. So I would like to start thanking them. So my transformation has started even at that point, I can say. And then, as you see here, Tarık Uzun at the top left corner from teacher to advisor side is our IAC Independent Learning Center coordinator. And he was the one who introduced this field to me in 2015. And I was teaching blended repeat students at that time, and he approached me and came up with this, and I was amazed, and I just jumped at the idea, and we started exploring ways to, you know, write up proposals, project proposals to get funding, and then finally we did it. And so we are now today, luckily, part of this international community of learning advising practitioners, I could say. And all of us in my institution, I mean, our team, we have Gamze, Stephanie, and as you have seen in the very beginning with this big heart shape, we are quite many and we are a great team. And I think such efforts can't be realized without a team and keeping this team spirit intact. So my story began like that, and I believe all these people hold this positive outlook on learning and autonomy building, and we believe this is a dynamic ecological, with a dynamic ecological perspective, we can explore further and learn better, building our learning communities. And now I want to go back to my very specific journey. Okay, so as you see here, we started our training at QUIZ, the Self-Access Center. This is my first advisee in my life. Oh, yeah, nice lady here. So it was upon the completion of my course one there in Japan back in 2017, November. And then we moved quickly to Turkey, came back to Turkey to start our own sessions at our university in spring in 2018. And it was really, you know, exciting. And then we ran our sessions, we conducted research, we wanted to reflect on our, you know, practices and discourses we are trying. And then we had publications, presentations. So please have a look at our publications and presentations for all of these and more. So we try to be keeping records of all the things we have been doing. So, but at the same time, as you can see here, all of a sudden I was expecting this little girl and my life had to change. And we always say our challenges are our opportunities. So then I decided that I have to find a way to keep doing advising sessions and pursuing my advising efforts. So I decided to do written advising. As you see here on the left bottom corner, I can say we have online scheduling for our students. They can schedule written advising or online one-to-one advising with us. And we can either, if it's an online one-to-one advising session, using some media, we use Zoom or others, and students can reach us. So I'm at the same time trying to feed in whatever we are doing in the changing times with the pandemic and online environment. And Pınar here, really nice friend of mine from school, and also she's a learning advisor. She has, while I was away physically, she helped me with finding advices for practice. I would like to thank her again. And Hatice here, having fun with her daughters, as you see, she has, with her sharp researcher mind, she has always been a great support, always helping me or guiding me to make sure I'm aware of what I'm doing, and I'm on some firm floor. And okay, so that's all about that. And then we moved on to the online environment. As you see here, we have written advising and online one-to-one advising, and also Gamze and Stephanie are running great lab club activities. They are amazing. I'm a great fan of them. I always try to attend their sessions. And also we have online training services during the pandemic. We are updating our content, the strategies we are using, like incorporating some resilience building or motivational elements to maintain here learner or advisee engagement and ownership. And also we would like to support our colleagues with these training activities, with learning advising workshops, advisor education program, which is also soon will be available. And also we are doing assistantship with our partner institution, Kanda University of International Studies, and it's again great experience. I can say I have grown a lot further, reflecting and engaging with trainees from all over the world, different parts of the world, as a mentor, as a teacher, as an advisor. And I used to say in the, before, let's say in the beginning, I used to say to my advisees and my mentees that their stories matter. But now with the changing times, with the pandemic, I think we need to dream more. And I would like to emphasize, in addition to stories, our dreams also matter. And we have some dreams. For example, here you see a slide shot where we are trying to apply reflective dialogue, reflective questions in our conflict mediation efforts. So we are trying to apply it in such a context. And also I have this other one, the dream of having a Friday afternoon self-care sessions with my colleagues at work. So you're welcome. If we have enough demand, we will be maybe why not arranging this up, because we believe teaching is not a profession, it's a feeling. So it's the same with advising and the same with mentoring. It's we are whole beings with our emotions, history, stories. So yeah, that's all I want to say. So it's a feeling thing. So Gamze, will you carry on?
Yeah. Thank you for this amazing reflection, Hatice. You covered everything, including all the institutional details that we were really willing to do. So actually, no need to mention any other things. As we can say in the other slides, the other 2 slides, you will be seeing the poster and the program of our conference on the 24th of April, 2021. We will be looking forward to fluttering by with you in our very first conference of advising, which is hosted by IATEFL team also. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for these inspiring insights into your journeys and metamorphoses. I want to say so. Please post your questions in the chat box, and I hand over to Anya again, who also has a few questions for the panelists.
Mm-hmm. Well, I actually wanted to ask, what was your greatest challenge in your transition from teacher to advisor? I suppose there were challenges as well, because you said that this was a journey where you learned a lot about yourself, reflected about yourself. And as we all know, sometimes this can also be a bit, how to say, not always positive, because you may also enter periods where you are a bit unsettled. So was there anything you can remember where there was maybe a phase where you doubted yourself, or yeah, which was difficult for you? Because so everything you said was very positive, enthusiastic. So everyone, I think, has now been, well, I would really like to find out more about advising. Maybe I'll even try to do the whole advisory program. So your enthusiasm is definitely contagious. But I guess once you start reflecting about yourself, you may also maybe go through an unsettling period.
I think you have to go through an unsettling period. It's almost mandatory, because advising is so different from teaching. And in advising, the goal is to have the advisee in control. You want them to become autonomous. So you have to scaffold it. You have to gradually step back, further and further, and give the advisee more and more control. But, you can't teach. Basically, that's the easiest one. You're not a teacher. You have to be an advisor. They're fundamentally different. And the best way to understand that process is to have the rug ripped out from underneath you. And I think we all went through that process. I think we all went through a phase of time, and we see it in the people we've trained. Everybody who goes into advising goes through a process of, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I can do this. Will people even like me? Will the advisees even come back and see me a second time? Am I going to damage somebody? It's part of the process. And it's a fundamentally important part of the process, because you have to purge yourself of old beliefs that are not constructive. And you have to allow space for the new beliefs that are actually going to facilitate your advisees in their own transformative process. This is fundamentally part of the three principles. It's not about you, no judgments, and keep an open mind. And that may not be the easiest thing for a person coming from a teaching background in the very beginning.
Can I add on it a little bit? Yes, it is totally different, but it's once you get to know more about advising, it is just like a kind of finding out the most powerful, the most fashionable looking costume that you kind of gain in your wardrobe. So
Exactly.
it's a kind of another hat that you may be able to wear wherever you want, whenever you want, to reach the students. And it's in your within your autonomy, as you also while becoming an advisor, you also grow your own in your own autonomy level. And you can choose whichever hat you want whenever you are in the classroom, whenever you are in an advising session. Maybe the transformation from teaching to advising, a teacher to advisor, could be this thing. But and I would like to mention another challenge, which is in the institutionalizing phase of advising, which is some kind of a question in everyone's mind, I guess. We have been all very lucky, as Hatice mentioned. In our team, we have our lovely director and vice director. So we didn't have to explain all what advising is to our admin, because they were already well aware of what we were doing in advising sessions. And we have always found the privilege and support just behind us. They have always backed up us with the space and time that we needed. So this is something like a must for anyone who would like to institutionalize advising in their own context. This is how you can create your own environment. From an ecological perspective, we know that learning can happen all out of the classroom in all different places. And if admin knows it, and if admin supports it, then you are so a great opportunity for you to grow as an advisor. So we feel so privileged to have a admin with us in this team, I must confess.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Christian, were there any questions in the chat?
No, not really. There was one question: what is the biggest challenge that you have faced during the transformation from face-to-face advising to online advising, which is closely related to your question on the challenges. So maybe we could have a quick answer on that, and then hand back to Güven now.
Sure, if I can. I mean, if you don't. No? Okay. I guess they say that darkest nights produce the brightest stars. So I guess the darkest times of all education has been that transformation from face-to-face to distance education. It was a big challenge for all of us to be able to reach our students, even make them open their webcams. And we advisors, I mean, advising has been so resilient in those times, if you ask me. We were even able to create a community by knowing how to do it. And if you ask us, not only because knowledge is so reachable, approachable, the content knowledge right now. Now it is not the content that everybody can reach with a click of a mouse, but the human aspect, the contact, building rapport matters more. Let's say not more, but matters actually more than necessary in those times. So you need to touch the people, and the advising helps you to touch the students, learners in their environments, and they can take them to their learning environment and help them move forward. That's why I think advising is the brightest star in the darkest nights, if you ask me.
Just quickly about the online advising thing.
Yeah.
I just thought it was much more challenging for advisor than students. Students were quite good at adapting to the new environment, and it was challenging for us to like put ourselves into advising online environment. So at the beginning of the semester last year, we had so much concerns from the advisors saying that I don't know whether this will work well, but eventually we had more an increased number of advising session appointments, which was really amazing. So that means the students are so adaptive to new environment compared to us. So I think we should really collaborate with students. We learned a lot from students, how to use the webcam or how to have good conversation through online. So it was really mutual learning process for us. That was what I learned from the online advising session.
Yeah, I can second that. I really was worried that online advising wasn't going to work, but I was quite surprised to find out that it works just as well. And for some students, I think it actually works better than face-to-face advising.
And with me, especially when I started doing written advising, I just thought of, to achieve better or higher student or advisee ownership and engagement, I decided to include some motivational elements like empathizing, emphasizing effort, creating hope in times of, pandemic, and also building relationships. So first I tried put a lot of effort in building relationships and respecting power, like you're not spoon feeding anything. So this is an exploratory journey together. So we could all take care of ourselves, the advisees and us, and because we had a meaning and purpose in life. And so that was the thing that I think brought us together and kept us together.
Okay, Giovanna.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for this really inspirational talk and exchange. I just want to add, yes, that advising an online setting is more challenging, and I tend to be more directive sometimes, and but I also keep in mind that it's so important to acknowledge one's own and the students' emotion and feelings, and this is really the main thing in advising. So just wrapping up, thank you everybody for having been here. We had 100 participants, so the room was full. I just send you in the chat the link to the certificate. The certificate is online. You can just go to the link, open the document with an application, Luma in PDF or another application, and write your name in it. Then if you are interested in LASIG, Learn Autonomy Special Interest Group, which we all belong to, here's our website and also the our Facebook group where we can maybe go on discussing. And I already put the link on the educational advising educational program. If you need it, I can send it again. And
maybe you can quickly say, or Hatice, until when registration is open so that people can still register for the conference.
Yeah. I mean, the registration for the conference, how long is it open? There will be a conference on advising on April 24. Gamze, Hatice?
I guess we are over in, or we are in early bird registration time right now, and I guess a 2 weeks or so. I'm not perfectly sure actually. Let us get to know about it once we. And
you can check the program here,
yeah.
And you can go to the IATEFL website.
Yes, just going to the website will let you know about the details actually.
Yeah. So then again, thank you everybody. It was really inspiring. Have a good afternoon, a good night, a good day. I don't know. We are from different part in the world. Hope to see you soon again, here or somewhere else. And yeah, thank you again. And it was fantastic and inspirational. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.